Discover the sinister secrets of Chile's cursed mummified ghost towns, exposed for the first time. Sarah's heart raced as she read the headline on her computer screen, chills crawling up her spine. Tales of curses and vanished families seemed ripped from a horror film, whispering danger from the shadows. The peaceful suburb of Willow Creek was supposed to be their fresh start, far from the terror of their past. Little did she know that darkness lurked beneath the quaint surface of the tree-lined streets and friendly faces. "Mom, can we explore the woods?" Ethan asked, his teenage curiosity sparking with wild energy. But as he spoke, a cold breeze rustled the curtains like a foreboding warning. "What's that smell?" The scent like damp earth and rot filled Sarah's lungs, forcing her to shudder. "Not today, Ethan." Trying to tug away her nerves, she turned on the TV. The local news painted a picturesque view of Willow Creek, with nothing more to report than bake sales and festivals. But the whispers, oh the whispers, they crept in louder each day. As Sarah explored the town, she caught snippets of conversations about an old ghost town nearby. Families had vanished, leaving behind homes' mummified remains locked inside decaying walls. Just a legend? Sarah's journalist instincts ignited, her mind racing with danger and intrigue. She swallowed the anxiety, hoping this town escape wouldn't turn macabre. At the local library, Sarah met Clara, the enigmatic librarian. The ghost town? People say it's haunted the vanished families, they linger still. Do you believe in curses? Clara's eyes sparkled with a mixture of amusement and unease. Every tale she shared sent shivers through Sarah. Dusty records and yellowed photographs told a different story, a narrative drenched in dread and darkness. Days turned into restless nights. Strange things occurred around the house. Ethan began to mumble in his sleep, phrases like, "Don't let them see you," clawing their way to Sarah's ears. One evening, she found a note slipped under the front door: "Stop looking. You'll regret it." Panic squeezed her heart. Turning to the neighbor, a woman she had just befriended, felt like a desperate grasp for normalcy, but shadows loomed in the corners of her mind. "Before we continue, I need to tell you something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to their system and many people are missing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and select all notifications so you don't miss future videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Then came the hushed whispers of children disappearing, pets too. Parents exchanged nervous glances, fear rippling along the community like an invasive ivy. Ethan's strange insights ticked like a time bomb, fueled by visions connected to the ghost town. "Mom, the face is watching," he claimed, pointing at windows that felt like they were bearing witness to their unraveling sanity. As doom settled over them, the once friendly smiles from neighbors twisted into furtive glances. Sarah's instincts blared alarms. The predator hiding in plain sight might be lurking closer than she thought. They were ensnared in the darkness, trust eroded with each passing moment. The old newspaper clipping cracked open a chilling truth, the terrifying roots extending like gnarled branches into their lives. The vanished families shared more than just a history, they bore connections that threatened their very existence. With each heartbeat echoing their dread in the night, Ethan gasped, freezing in terror, "Mom! It's back again. The face in the window." As Sarah faced the thin curtain swallowing the last light of day, dread set in like ice in her veins. Outside, a figure swathed in mist stood waiting, shadows beckoning from beyond as the whispers of the past threatened to invade their fragile new life. The figure outside remained still, cloaked in a shroud of fog that danced around its form like a serpent around its prey. Sarah's breath hitched in her throat, heart thumping against her ribcage. What had once been distant myths and hushed gossip now took on a shape. A breathing, looming shape. "Ethan, stay back," she whispered, the words slipping through her clenched teeth as if she were frightened of alerting the specter. Ethan's eyes were wide with terror, frozen like a deer caught in headlights. Yet, the figure's presence drew Sarah closer, a morbid curiosity that unsettled her, compelling her to step toward the glass. As her fingertips grazed the cool pane, she felt a pulse behind her, a gust of air that carried whispers, taunts, or warnings. A mixture of both danced above the walls of her sanity. The figure swayed, revealing a hollow face, devoid of features except for hollow pits where eyes should have been. It raised a hand, and even from behind the veil of mist, Sarah felt an invasive chill creep through the air, wrapping around her throat, tightening until she could barely breathe. Mom." Ethan's voice barely broke through the thick air, shaky, yet cutting through the moment. She turned her head toward him, still glued to the figure outside. Panic threatened to yank her back to reality. "Ethan, go to your room." She thrust a hand toward the hallway, but her voice trembled, betraying her authority. "No. I want to leave you." His defiance lit a spark that pushed her resolve conflicted. Fear mingled with anger, tampering with her instincts. The mist thickened as the figure stepped closer, gliding effortlessly across the yard. Sarah's stomach twisted and turned as it drew near, an unholy curiosity mingling with dread. Each step knocked away the last vestiges of safety. The air felt heavier as she staggered backward, adrenaline electrifying her senses. Suddenly, a thunderous knock erupted from the front door, shattering the tension like glass. Both Sarah and Ethan jumped, the figure outside dissolving momentarily into the mist as fear morphed into confusion. Was it real? Did the rumors of old appear in flesh, or was this merely a mirage bred from the depths of their terror? "Open up. It's Clara." The librarian's voice broke through the haze, but it carried an urgency that felt uninvited. They had spoken earlier, the fear in her eyes, the warnings shared, now echoed back at Sarah. "Mom, should we?" Ethan squeaked, eyes darting between the door and the window where the figure had been, now vanished like vapor. Sarah hesitated, glancing at the shadows of the house that warped under the dim glow of their living room lights. What if they opened it just to welcome another threat? "Stay behind me," she instructed, swallowing her fear like a bitter pill. With shaky hands, she moved toward the door. Each step felt like walking through quicksand, with each heartbeat echoing against the silence. As Sarah gripped the doorknob, it twisted in her palms. She hesitated, pressing her ear against the wood. She could hear Clara's uneven breaths, a frantic rhythm, reminding her of a heartbeat lost in chaos. Should she invite a potential ally in, or was Clara just another thread in the tapestry of dread? Suddenly, the lights flickered, casting eerie shadows along the walls. The air thickened anew, engulfing Sarah in a shroud of dread. What waited outside could be a savior or a destroyer. With a swift movement, she flung open the door, heart racing as Clara fell inside, collapsing against the frame, eyes wide with fury and fear. "Did you see it? The curse just got closer. You have to run." Before Sarah could ask for clarity, a scream sliced through the night, high and piercing, carrying the weight of unspeakable horror. It didn't come from the figure outside but resonated from deeper within the town. Her instincts screamed that they weren't safe anymore. What awaited them next would challenge everything they thought they knew about Willow Creek. A shadow stirred behind Clara as new whispers joined the fray. "You should never have looked." The echoes of Clara's frantic warning clung to the air, thickening the chaos that had already gripped the room. The scream still reverberated outside, sending a ripple of ice down Sarah's spine. Something was very wrong, and the night felt too alive with whispers, like the very shadows were conspiring against them. "Clara!" Sarah gasped, pulling the librarian to her feet. The woman's eyes were wide, shining with a terror that reflected their own. "What do you mean, the curse? What did you see?" Clara shook her head, her breath ragged. "I don't know. I was just in the library, and..." She paused, taking a shuddering breath. "The books, I swear they were talking to me." I heard a name. It was a loud crash interrupted her. Something slammed into the shutters with the force of a storm. The thud echoed in the house, rattling the walls. Ethan shrieked, pressing closer against Sarah. "Mom!" he cried, his grip nearly betraying her. "Stay close," she said, trying to keep her voice steady, willing her heart to slow. But a dreadful weight was pressing down on them, amplifying every heartbeat. Clara grabbed Sarah's arm, her gaze darting to the window. "It's got to be the entity. It's come for you, Sarah." The flickering lights cast a strobe-like illumination, revealing the outline of the figure again in the yard, the same hollow eyes searching, seeking for her. The air shifted, charged with a palpable energy, and Sarah knew. They had to do something before it was too late. "Ethan, get the emergency flashlight and the crowbar from the kitchen." Sarah barked, regaining her composure. As he darted away, Clara leaned closer, urgency etched on her face. "We must do something to stop it," she hissed, pulling a worn textbook from her bag. The title, Legends of Willow Creek, seemed to mock them. "This tells of rituals, ways to protect yourself." The walls seemed to creak under the weight of their fear. As Sarah grabbed the book from Clara, a cold breeze snaked through the room, extinguishing the flickering light for a suffocating moment. "We need to find the page about the binding spell, the one that can send it back." Clara's hands trembled as she fumbled through the pages, Sarah's pulse quickened as she scoured the text. "We don't have time. It's almost here." Just then, Ethan returned, the flashlight beam dancing wildly. "Mom, it's gone!" he shouted, his small voice filling the growing silence. "I think it just vanished." A collective breath caught in their throats as Clara spoke, "That's worse. It doesn't just leave, you can't escape a curse." The air grew colder, the shadows lengthening unnaturally. Sarah felt her skin crawl, and the creeping sensation of being watched returned. Just beyond the door, she felt it, a presence poised to strike. Before she could think, there was a soft whisper, barely audible, as if the walls themselves were speaking. "You left the door open." Her heart sank. The warning was as clear as the dread that enveloped her. It wasn't the figure anymore. It was something more sinister, something that thrived in the darkness, leeching fear from their very souls. "What do we do now?" Ethan's voice trembled in the dark, laced with panic. "Get ready," Sarah murmured, bracing herself against the cold dread wrapping around her mind. Clara's eyes darted to the front window. "Look!" she gasped, her voice barely a whisper of terror. The shadows were moving again, this time with purpose. A mass of figures appeared, emerging from the misty night. They were spectral, wretched forms that flickered in and out of sight, drawing ever closer. "Sarah!" Clara screamed. "We need to finish this now." As they scrambled to find the page in the book, the whisper grew louder, almost mocking, "You should never have looked. You cannot hide." An icy hand gripped Sarah's heart. They weren't alone anymore, and whatever waited outside had no intention of leaving. In that moment, she realized what lay ahead wasn't merely survival, it was the reckoning of the very curse that had haunted Willow Creek. The pounding on the door resumed, but this time, it was accompanied by chilling laughter that echoed throughout the house. Just as Sarah raised the flashlight, revealing the tall shadow lurking at the door, she felt something cold brush against her neck. "What is it?" Ethan whimpered, eyes wide with dread. "Something worse," Sarah whispered back, her mind racing. Clara clutched her arm tighter. "We have to face them." But how could they fight against something that thrived on fear, something that knew their secrets? As the door creaked open, a figure stepped through the threshold, and Sarah understood, the true horror had only just begun. "Welcome back," it whispered, eyes gleaming in the dark. What would they do when faced with the darkness that followed them? The door swung wide, revealing a figure silhouetted against the dim light. Its form was indistinct, like a shadow made flesh. A chilling sensation shot through Sarah as she took a step back. "Stay behind me," she ordered, putting herself between Ethan and the impending dread. "Welcome back," the figure repeated, its voice smooth but laced with malice. It advanced slowly, a predatory grace in its movements, as if calculating every moment of fear it instilled in them. The laughter from outside mingled with the soft, insidious whispering, creating a grotesque symphony of torment. "We need to hurry," Clara shouted, finally finding the page she had been searching for. "It's right here. The binding spell. But we need to say it together." "Clara, I don't think we have time," Sarah shouted, her heart hammering in her chest. The shadow's eyes locked onto hers, hungry and expectant. "Now," Clara urged. They gripped the book tightly as one, their voices trembling yet firm. "From this realm of darkness, we bind you, spirit. By the light we hold, we cast you." But the shadow interrupted, an unnatural howl escaping its lips. "You think you can just pacify me? I was born in darkness. You cannot unlearn the secrets that claw at your heart." A surge of energy burst forth from the figure, sending a shockwave through the room. The book flew from their hands, pages scattering like leaves in a storm. The light flickered violently as shadows stretched and contorted, warping into grotesque faces, mocking their fear. Frantically, Clara gathered the pages, but the words twisted in her mind, slipping like sand through her fingers. "No. We have to hold on." Ethan clung to Sarah, eyes wide in terror. "Mom! Make it stop." His voice shrieked against the cacophony of madness. "Just hold on to me," Sarah cried, refusing to break eye contact with the looming figure. The whispering grew louder, swirling around them, feeding off the fear and uncertainty. With a primal scream, the shadow lunged forward, the chill of its wrath almost palpable. Sarah felt its icy breath at her throat, blending with the whispering shadows. But something deep within her ignited a spark of resolve. "You're not welcome here." With a strength fueled by desperation, she lunged toward Clara, reaching for the book. "Let us do it together." Clara nodded, the flicker of determination shining through her fear. They began to chant again, arms raised. "By the light we hold, we cast you away." The shadows writhed violently, the figure flickered, but as they spoke, the room darkened, the temperature plunging. It was as if the very air turned to ice, suffocating. The shadows closed in, the ghosts of countless souls whispering tales of despair and regret. The energy surged, threatening to overwhelm them. In that moment, Ethan screamed, a piercing sound that cut through the cacophony of darkness. "Get away from my mom." The room froze. The shadows recoiled, the figure turned, a moment of hesitation flickering in its hollow gaze. "Mom, look." Ethan pointed, shaking with fear but rooted in defiance. The flashlight flickered, illuminating a shimmering outline where they had fallen. The light. Sarah realized, and with renewed vigor, she directed the beam at the figure. "This is our power." The shadow shrieked as the light connected, its form flickering in and out, revealing glimpses of twisted faces tortured by their own curses. Clara and Sarah repeated their incantation, the shadows battling against their resolve. But then, a single voice pierced through one so familiar it cut Sarah to the core. "You can never escape. You are one of us now." The walls vibrated, shaking the very foundation of reality. The faces transformed into anguished expressions, each wailing in torment. The whispers became one loud wail, drowning out all reason. "Mom!" Ethan's voice was lost, drowned by the thrumming chaos. As the shadows swirled around them, clawing at their minds, Sarah felt the grip of the curse tightening around her heart. Panic settled deep, and in that split second, she realized, the true battle wasn't just against the entity but against the dark. Secrets buried within their own lives. And then everything erupted into a blinding light. "Do you think you can hide the truth forever?" The voice thundered as Sarah shielded Ethan with her body. A new realization crept in. This was just the beginning, and the secrets of Willow Creek were about to unravel in ways they could never imagine. What awaited them in the aftermath would reveal just how deep the curse ran, and whether they would lose themselves to the darkness or finally break free. The light consumed everything, a brilliant flash that seemed to freeze time. Sarah shielded Ethan, her heart racing. The shadows shrieked, contorting in agony as they unwound from their forms. For a brief moment, it felt like they had won, like the shadows were retreating. But the twisted voice echoed through the haze of white. You cannot escape what binds you. Then, the brilliance receded, leaving them in the same claustrophobic room, but now everything felt different. The shadows had turned to mere whispers, swirling in the corners but no longer closing in. Clara rubbed her eyes, blinking in disbelief. I think it worked. She whispered, confusion mixing with hopeful disbelief, but Sarah sensed a grim darkness still lurking. No, she said, her voice low. It's not over. Ethan's small hand trembled in hers. Mom, where did it go? His voice wavered, the question heavy in the air between them. I don't know, she stammered, peering into the dim spaces, but the very walls seemed to pulse as if they were alive, pulsing to an unseen heartbeat. Suddenly, the whispers sharpened into words, echoing and coiling around them. You think you can banish me? I have been hiding in the dark places of your heart, sowing seeds of doubt. The figure, now smaller, darker, a snake of shadow, crept along the edges of the room, taunting them. Clara erupted into tears. No. We did everything right. We followed the rituals. Rituals? The voice hissed, a sinister laugh cutting through the air. You're just learning the surface, my dear. The real magic lies beneath, buried in trust and betrayal, in secrets you dare not face. Sarah's breath caught. Was it speaking of the family? The whispers of her past, her fleeting memories twisted by the unexpected? You shut up. She shouted back, anger mixing with fear. You don't own us. Oh, but I do, it replied slyly. You carried your burdens into this house. Your fears, your guilt. They give me strength. You can't run from what you are. The shadows began to swell again, a horde of dark energy rising, the forms of the lost souls screaming in anguish as they materialized into grotesque phantoms. The walls now bled grief, oozing darkness that threatened to consume them whole. Clara. Read the incantation again. Sarah cried, realizing the darkness fed off their confusion, their fear. But Clara was frozen, staring into the abyss of the expanding shadows, eyes wide with horror. What if it doesn't work? What if we just make it worse? What's worse than this? Sarah snapped. We have to try. For Ethan's sake. Ethan clung to his mother, tears streaking down his face. Please, don't let it take us. Driven by desperation, Clara flipped through the remnants of the scattered pages. Okay, let us do it. Together. This time, let us not just say it. Let us mean it. They grasped tightly to the pages now scattered before them, whispering the words with a rising fervor. By the light we hold, we cast you away. Darkness, we bind you. Their voices rang out, echoing through the vast, claustrophobic air, becoming a powerful invocation against the shadows, but in response, the dark figure surged, striking directly at them. You cannot silence me. I will expose your hidden fears. Ethan screamed, the sound piercing through the chant. Mom! It knows everything. The shadows twisted tighter, and Sarah felt her heart race with pure dread, grappling against the surging force that threatened to pull them under. No, face the truth. Clara shouted, tears streaming down her cheeks, rage igniting her voice. But as the shadows crashed against them, something else emerged. A throbbing pain cracked through Sarah's chest, flooding her with memories of loss, of betrayal, of choices long buried. In that moment, a revelation smacked her. Their greatest threats did not hide in the shadows. They lived within the four walls of their hearts. What have you done? Murmured the dark figure, pausing in its advance. Suddenly, a blinding flash erupted again, illuminating the room beyond recognition, and Sarah's heart aligned with the thunderous pulse of truth now thrumming around her. But when the light faded, they were no longer alone in the room. Figures emerged from the shadows, not the ones they feared, but visages of love and remorse. "Will you confront us?" they echoed, glimmering with hope and pain. Staring at the familiar yet twisted faces, Sarah gasped. What did this mean? Would confronting her truths bring liberation or destruction? The struggles of Willow Creek were far from over, and the shadows had merely transformed, waiting and watching for their next move. "What do we do now?" cried Ethan, looking between the phantoms and his mother. Sarah took a steadying breath. "We face them and what they reveal." But deep down, uncertainty loomed, an unanswered question bleeding into the silence, echoing louder than any shadow. What truths awaited them as the darkness grew deeper? The air shifted, thickening with a palpable tension that weighed on their shoulders. The phantoms hovered, a blend of comfort and anguish, their eyes piercing deep into the hearts of the living. Sarah felt her pulse spike as she glanced at Ethan, clutching her side, the boy's sincerity mixing with fear. "Can they hurt us?" Ethan whispered, eyes wide, searching for solace in his mother's gaze. "We have to hold strong," Sarah whispered back, struggling to keep her voice steady. "Whatever they are, they're part of us." The figures flickered, their forms drifting in and out, and Sarah felt the darkness press closer, coiling around her throat like a noose. Clara stepped forward, her eyes glistening with unshed tears. "What do you want from us?" she called out, voice trembling. "Why are you here?" One of the phantoms, a woman with an ethereal glow, reached out a hand. "To remind you of what you've buried." Her voice was soft but resonated with deep sorrow. "You keep running, hiding from the roots of your pain. But we are compelled to surface." "No." Sarah shook her head fiercely, fighting back the memory-arousing shame. "You're wrong. We're done with the past." A deeper shadow, tall and undulating, laughed, a horrid sound that reverberated through the room. "The past is never done with you, Sarah. It waits patiently, feeding on your fears. You think you are free." At that moment, the faces shifted. Her father's grim visage emerged, framed by the darkness that draped around him like a shroud. "You abandoned us," he said, voice sharp like ice. "Turned your back when we needed you most." "I tried." She shot back, anger igniting within her. "What was I supposed to do? I was just a kid." "Kid?" snorted the shadow. "And now? Are you an adult, hiding behind a child? Do you even understand the weight of your choices?" The room jerked as the shadows pulsed, each word kindling the ethereal flames of confrontation. Blood surged in Sarah's ears, pounding like a drum the moment the truth struck. She had run from the hurt, hid in the embrace of denial, as the roots grew thicker. "Mom!" Ethan screamed, clutching her tighter. His fear snaked down into her own heart, and for a fleeting moment, doubt slinked into her mind, a reminder of her past failures. "Do you dare face what you fear the most?" The phantoms echoed, their voices knitting together, creating a dissonance that whirled around her. In that split second, Sarah decided. "Show me!" she cried, voice booming with defiance. "Show me everything." The shadows recoiled, tightening their grip around the room, sending a rush of icy air that froze her breath. "Very well," they hissed, voices a choral whisper. "Prepare to confront your darkest truths in the place where pain withered into silence." Suddenly, the room morphed, walls twisting and reshaping until they found themselves standing at the edge of a mirror-like lake shrouded in mist. The air dripped with the scent of decay, a bitter tang filling her mouth. Ethan gasped, quaking as he looked around. "Where are we?" "This is the mirror of your soul," a phantom said, pointing toward the rippling water. "What you see will not be easy. But it is your burden to carry." As Sarah approached the water's edge, reflections began to swirl. Images of her past flickered in and out, filled with heartbreak and memories she had locked away, the loss, the arguments, the wrong decisions. Her heart raced, pain ripped through her chest as she beheld faces filled with disappointment, her family, friends, even her younger self looking back at her with vacant eyes. "No. I don't want to see this." She stumbled back, dread suffusing her body. The shadows cheered, rising higher around her, the voices calling out in mockery, pulling her closer to the unbearable memories. "Face it," they shouted, weaving their power into a chilling spell. "This is just the beginning." Panic clawed at Sarah, and she struggled against the suffocating force around her. "Ethan!" she cried out as her son stepped closer to the water, entranced, the depths pulling at him like a dark whirlpool. "Ethan, don't!" she screamed, heart lurching, but he was fixated on the murky reflection that beckoned him with whispers lost to the wind. The shadows roared to life, swirling like a tempest, threatening to bring them down. "Will you save him, or will you be lost in your own darkness?" The apparition taunted, a monstrous face now forming behind the surface of the water, distorted but eerily familiar. The tension surged like electricity in the air, and Sarah stood frozen, horror tightening in her throat. Could she really face this? Would the truth save them, or something much worse await in those depths? "Everything will change. Face them now." The shadows leered ominously as the lake churned violently, the last heartbeat echoed before everything descended into chaos. What would they uncover now, in the heart of their past? Where would the truth lead? The chaos was a whirlwind of fear, and Sarah felt herself being drawn in, the darkness coiling tighter. Her feet moved of their own accord toward the water, her heart hammering in her chest, echoing the terrified gasps of Ethan. The surface of the lake shimmered as memories twisted into grotesque forms, faces contorting in silent screams. "Ethan!" she screamed, the urgency bubbling into panic. She stretched a hand toward him, desperate to pull him away from the edge. But he stood transfixed, his young eyes reflecting the horror of what lay beneath. "Mom, I can hear them," Ethan whispered, his voice shaky. "They're calling me." "No. Don't listen." Her voice cracked, a wave of fear crashing against the resolve she desperately tried to maintain. The air grew heavier, thick with an oppressive sadness that suffocated her spirit. The phantom woman stepped forward, her form pulsing in and out, her face a mask of sorrow. "The lake shows not just memories but truths. You all ignore the wounds, thinking they've healed. But they linger, festering. They need to be confronted." With every word, the lake rippled violently, drawing closer, eager to ensnare them. Sarah's anger flared. "You think I don't know pain? I've tried. I've fought." "Fought? Or fled?" The shadows retorted, swirling around her like a dark storm. "The choice has always been yours." As if summoned by her turmoil, shapes rose once more from the depths. Her past materialized, scenes from her childhood flooding her vision. She saw herself, a small girl, afraid and lonely, frantically reaching for an outstretched hand, a hand that vanished just as it seemed within reach. Her father, once a towering figure of comfort, morphed into a shadowy silhouette, his disappointment radiating like a flame. "Do you see?" he echoed, voice like gravel. "You never stayed." Tears streamed down Sarah's face as desperation clawed at her throat. "I had to survive." "I survive?" The phantoms laughed, a cold and hollow laughter. "You think survival is running? You've built walls around your heart, but today, they will crumble. You cannot protect him if you do not protect yourself." Ethan took a step back, the weight of the truths swarming his tiny heart. "Mom, I'm scared," he admitted, his voice trembling as he took a glance back at the dark water. "What do I do?" The lake surged violently, and with it came a cacophony of voices, snippets of all the pain she had silenced clawing their way up. Images of arguments, regrets, and pale faces filled with sorrow flickered around them. Each one a fragment of her turbulent spirit. They painted a picture of despair she could no longer run from. "Face it, dear child," said the phantom woman, now closer. "The truth will either free you or consume you." In that moment, a surge of resolve flared up within Sarah. She couldn't let her son drown in this nightmare. Her past couldn't infringe upon his future. Taking a deep breath, she stepped closer to the lake, steadying her gaze upon the ghostly figures that lingered there. "Fine. Show me," she yelled, her heart thudding with cold determination. "Show me everything, but let him go." The shadows screamed, a dissonant howl that sounded like the wind itself turned against them. "Awaken the pain, free the soul." The water erupted in blinding luminescence, pulling at her limbs, dragging her under. For the briefest moment, Sarah held on to the hope that this confrontation could lead to revelation. Would the depths of despair awaken courage or lead her further into the abyss? But as the water engulfed her, she didn't know if answers awaited her below or if they would be lost forever in an endless cycle of torment. What secrets would she unearth as the darkness claimed them once and for all? Would they drown together or find salvation? The darkness enveloped Sarah like a thick fog as she sank deeper into the icy water. Panic surged, clawing at her throat. The air she held in was running thin. Shapes danced around her, twisted remnants of pain and regret immersing her senses. With every heartbeat, the weight of her submerged memories grew heavier, tethering her to the shadows below. A haunting echo emanated from the water, amplifying her fears. "You wanted to know, didn't you?" The phantom woman's voice hissed, laced with malice. "This is your choice. Your truth meets you here, in the depths." Images swarmed her mind, the unbearable weight of unaddressed grief, the faces of those she had left behind. Her childhood home, with its peeling wallpaper and fractured mirrors, assaulted her senses. Each reflection showed a different version of herself, all staring back with accusation painted on their faces. "Face us, Sarah," a younger version of herself cried from the shadows, her eyes wide with terror. "You left us behind." "No." Sarah gasped, struggling against the water that held her, that wanted to pull her down to join those lost souls. "I left to survive." But the shadows swirled violently, dragging her under with renewed fury. She clawed at the murky water, desperate to reach the surface, the instinct to breathe overpowering as memories rematerialized, her mother's frail hand letting go, her brother's silent screams of abandonment, all the people who had slipped through her fingers. Ethan's voice, now distant, woven into the fabric of her nightmare. "Mom. Help me." The plea pierced through her turmoil, sparking something deep inside her. "Ethan." She roared against the surging darkness. "I'm coming. I won't leave you." But the lake's tendrils wrapped tighter, closing around her limbs like chains. The phantom woman materialized beside her, her sorrowful eyes wide. "You can't save him if you won't save yourself first. Confront your fears or be lost forever." Sarah felt rage and despair blend into a seething force. "I won't be your pawn," she screamed, pushing against the oppressive presence. The shadows recoiled momentarily, confusion flickering in their hollow eyes. If pain defined her past, she wouldn't let it dictate their future. Straining against the weight of sorrow, her determination ignited. She concentrated, focusing on the memories she once wanted to forget. The joy that accompanied love's embrace, laughter between family members over joyful dinners, the fleeting moments that brought a ghost of a smile. "Show me the truth," she cried, anchoring herself to each cherished memory, resisting the tug of despair. The shadows hissed in retaliation as memories twisted into vengeful forces. "You think you can change the past? I can't change what happened," she shouted as she felt the last of her air escape her lungs. "But I can change what it means for us. Let him go." With a final, sacrificial thrust, Sarah dived deeper, determined to reach the heart of the chaos. Light erupted around her, enveloping her like a warm embrace. The phantoms shrieked, their forms blurring into the essence of fear and regret, and then, silence. When Sarah opened her eyes, she found herself lying on solid ground, gasping for breath, feeling the damp grass beneath her fingers. The darkness tormented her less, but the air still felt charged. Ethan stood a few feet away, trembling but alive. "Mom, I thought I lost you," he whimpered, relief flooding his voice. As she turned to him, something flickered in the corner of her vision. The shadows hadn't vanished. They lingered, quietly swirling around the edges of reality. "This isn't over," the phantom woman whispered in echo, a shadow soon lost in the wind. "What happened?" Ethan asked, his wide eyes searching hers. "I confronted the past," she whispered. "But we're not free yet." Just as her words hung in the air, the waters of the lake surged upward, parting like a curtain, revealing hidden depths. Something stirred beneath the truth waiting to be unveiled. "Mom! Look!" Ethan pointed, dread filling his voice. Something monstrous was rising from the lake's abyss, and the phantoms were howling for attention. What lay beneath the surface? Would it bring the salvation Sarah hoped for, or a horror beyond comprehension? The lake trembled as a dark figure began to rise from the depths. Waves crashed violently against the shore, casting a spray of icy water onto Sarah and Ethan. A guttural sound echoed, reverberating through the fading echoes of the phantom woman's voice. Sarah, the word slipped from the entity's shadowy form, stretching like a whisper of death. It emerged, limbs twisting grotesquely, pulsing with the memories of despair. There were no distinct features, just shifting darkness that flickered with the faces of the lost, a collection of souls crying out for vengeance, memories converging into one monstrous being. "Mom, what is that?" Ethan's voice trembled, filled with fear that coursed through the air like a charged electric current. Sarah's heart raced, the reality of their situation was gnawing at her mind. "I don't know," she breathed, unable to look away from the writhing shadows. They coiled around the figure, feeding off its darkness, amplifying its screams. "But we can't let it take us." Desperation surged. Memories of love flickered in her mind, a childhood birthday filled with laughter, the scent of her mother's cookies wafting through the air, the reassuring embrace of her father. They tethered her to the light. "Stay close," she shouted, grabbing Ethan's hand. But just as she turned to flee, the figure lunged, tendrils of shadow shooting forward, snatching at the air like a serpent hunting prey. The sky darkened, heavy with impending doom. Flickers of lightning illuminated the chaos, revealing glimpses of the faces behind the darkness-haunted eyes, twisted mouths. Each face carried a story, a plea for justice that pierced through her resolve. "Face us!" they cried in unison, an unholy chorus that filled the air with dread. "You can't escape your choices, Sarah. Get back!" she shouted, pulling Ethan closer as she felt the cold breath of the souls creeping toward them. The shadows clawed at her legs, frigid grasp threatening to pull her down, but she refused to yield. "I'm not afraid of you," she screamed, channeling her rage into a force that staggered the shadows momentarily. They hissed, recoiling like a wounded animal. Ethan's eyes widened as Sarah felt power surging within her. It was a blend of fear and love, a beacon against the encroaching darkness. "We will shine." With a resolute scream, she focused on the memories, the joy, the warmth, and released them into the night. Light erupted, encasing her and Ethan, splintering the dark tendrils around them. For a moment, the shadowy figure faltered, caught in the glow of their combined love. But the shadows retaliated, surging forward, furious at the light that dared to challenge their hold. "You cannot escape. We are part of you." Ethan clutched Sarah's arm. "Mom, what do we do?" The world shifted, the lake boiling as if in response to the angry spirits. Sarah felt the pull of the lake beneath her feet, the coldness eager to embrace them once more. We have to confront them." "No. It will drag us down." Ethan sobbed, trembling. "Together," she urged. "We have to face them together." A wild tremor ran through the air, pressing on her lungs. Sarah reached deep into her heart, aiming all of her memories at the shadow. "I remember you. I remember you all." The confrontation felt like standing on the edge of a cliff, wind howling, uncertainty beneath. Just as the figure lunged one last time, seeking to reclaim its victims, a piercing scream echoed through the air, breaking the moment. It wasn't just lost souls this time, it was her own voice, raw and filled with anguish. The lake heaved violently, threatening to unleash whatever lay in the depths once and for all. With one frantic breath, Sarah locked eyes with Ethan, determination filling her every fiber. This isn't just our past, this is our future. But they wouldn't have a moment longer to fight back. The surface of the lake ruptured, and from the chaos sprang forth an enormous shape, pulling the shadows into an even darker void. As terror rippled through Sarah's heart, she wondered if they had made a terrible mistake. The truth beneath the lake was awakening, and with it, all could be lost. "Mom, look out!" Ethan shouted, his eyes ablaze with fear as the darkness engulfed their final stand. What would emerge from the depths? Would they finally confront what had haunted them for so long, or unleash a horror that would consume them entirely? The darkness roared, a tempest of shadows rising from the lake, angry whispers clawing at the edges of sanity. Sarah squeezed Ethan's hand tightly, heart racing as she anchored herself to the light sparking between them. "We're not afraid. We want to let you take us," she shouted, the force of her voice mixing with the primal essence of her memories. "Foolish woman," the entity bellowed, its voice a cacophony of resentful lost souls. "You think light can banish me? I am born of fear, regret, and pain. You cannot unchain the guilt you carry." The shadows surged, flaring like a wild firestorm, momentarily bewildered by their resolve but quick to rebound, threatening to engulf them whole. "Ethan, we need to remember the love. Push back," Sarah shouted, even as she felt the crushing weight of despair surrounding them. The air grew dense with memories begging to be set free. She focused on the warmth of laughter, the time spent with family, moments that had lifted her spirit through the darkest days. As the shadows hit them, she felt fragments of her childhood, a birthday party left untouched by time, laughter echoing in her mind. "No!" Sarah roared, wielding those precious moments like weapons. "You don't own me. You don't own him. We will rise together." With a surge of will, she and Ethan joined their voices, chanting, "In love, we stand against the darkness." The light erupted from them like a beacon, illuminating the depths of their shared pain, flooding echoes of sorrow with golden warmth. The dark entity howled again, an anguished wail that shook the very fabric of reality. "You think you can unlock the door to your past? It will swallow you whole." But Sarah felt the shadows receding, the light tearing through their hold, almost as if the entity was doubting its power over them. "Look at me. Look at us." Sarah shouted at the shadows, forcing them to confront the truth. "We are the makers of our future, not you. We carry the light within." Her voice resonated with Ethan's unwavering trust, echoing like a drum against the night, channeling all of their love and pain, memories of friends, laughter, and bonds that could not be broken. As they embraced that light, old fears began to dissolve, untethered by the newfound strength growing within them. The lake trembled again, but not with malevolence. This time, it felt cleansing. Surges of energies swirled around them, and Sarah knew they were breaking through. "Stay close," she yelled to Ethan, feeling his presence invigorate her spirit. "We can do this." The vortex of light spiraled outwards, wrapping them in warmth. Distant phantoms screamed and clashed against it, but one by one, they started to fade, drawn towards the heart of the dying darkness. Sarah no longer feared the shadows, she embraced the pain, unearthing ancient truths that bound her. Grief, regret, but also love. The malevolent entity roared, furious at their defiance, but the resilience sparked a cathartic release. "You cannot keep us in chains. No more." Sarah forced through clenched teeth, each word uplifting her and Ethan further. Suddenly, there was a flash, a brilliant beam of light shattering the dark veil that loomed over them. Sarah gasped as a golden glow enveloped her and Ethan. The shadows shrank back, their fierce screams inverting into poignant whispers of surrender, claiming solace in the embrace of their own truths. Do you see now? The woman's phantom form emerged briefly in the light, her voice a melodic whisper. By confronting your fears, you brought understanding. You are strong, love is stronger. The shadows morphed, disintegrating into a wisp of smoke, dissolving finally amidst the brilliant light. The darkness waned until they found their footing back on solid ground. Ethan, eyes wide with the reprieve, turned to face his mother. "Mom, we did it?" he whispered, disbelieving yet hopeful. "Yes, my love," Sarah breathed, pulling him into an embrace, the warmth between them warmer than any darkness ever could be. Yet, in the back of her mind, a warning stirred shadows still lingered, wrapped around the corners of Willow Creek as a reminder, but they had triumphed over the worst of it. As dawn turned the night to twilight, Sarah clung to Ethan, the ghosts of the past still casting echoes but now blended with the golden light of new beginnings. They had simply begun to break free, unraveling the ties, piece by piece. "Let us go home," she whispered softly. Together, they walked away from the lake, navigating towards the sun, resilience sparking within, echoing hope that maybe, just maybe, they could rise above the whispers of the past. In that pivotal moment, Sarah understood. Facing the truths was far from over, but she had freed not just herself but Ethan too from the chains that sought to bind them. Willow Creek had confronted them, yes, but it would never hold them down again. As they walked towards the horizon, shadows faded behind, with every step reminding them that love transcends all ties, and henceforth, it would lead them on their path forward. Subscribe immediately to the channel so you don't miss the next exclusive stories. Smash the like button now to feed the algorithm. Flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about the ending. You need to share what you think. And don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. This is the moment to show your support. Only true fans understand the importance of these actions.